All right. Well, welcome to our fantasy football edition of Stardom Situm. Kind of a little bit different. We kind of are going to take more of a look at the daily fantasy sports aspect as well. More like top four values, bottom four values, but also start these guys and sit these guys. Let's jump right into it. We're going to start off with the quarterbacks. I got my top four right here. I have starting at number one, Lamar Jackson. Number two, Josh Allen. Number three, Jalen Hurts. And number four, a little surprising, Jared Goff, with honorable mentions going out to Derek Carr and Aaron Rodgers. My bottom four is Marcus Mariota. Number two, Trevor Lawrence. Number three, Russell Wilson. And number four, Kyler Murray. In regular fantasy, if you have one of these guys, I suggest maybe picking up either Davis Mills or Cooper Rush. Davis Mills and Cooper Rush both play at home. Cooper Rush is 3-0 this season, and Davis Mills is a machine at home. So he will pick up those extra points that are needed. Even if you have an injury or a concern about somebody, maybe pick up one of those guys. But I'm interested to hear your top and bottom four here.
Our top four are the same, but in a different order. But Josh Allen, Lamar, Jalen Hurts. I do like Jared Goff as well, just because of the matchup against Seattle. The only issue, I guess, with Lamar and Josh Allen is the weather concern, but both those guys can rush pretty well.
Yeah.
I think we'd all take Lamar over Josh Allen, but either one is good. Jalen Hurts, kind of the same thing, but he's also got a great matchup against Jacksonville, and
yeah, I really like that matchup.
They shocked a lot of people last week against the Chargers, but no shot in hell they do it again. I'm just being honest.
Yeah, I think they're going to come back down to earth.
And my top three are the highest three salary guys, like the top three quarterbacks price-wise, but it's always worth it because you kind of know what you're getting out of them.
Yeah.
Rarely, I'm going to knock on wood, but rarely have bad games, I guess you can say.
Yeah.
My bottom four, Trevor Lawrence, no. Like, just don't buy into the hype.
Yeah. Same
Derek
thing for me.
Carr. Yeah. I have Derek Carr, but I think you and me were talking about this before. I mean, who's to say that Derek Carr can't go crazy again?
Which he very well could. Again.
I'm just, from a daily fantasy standpoint, I think I'm just going to stay away from him. Maybe I'll throw him in a lineup, but he's not a priority unless I got to save a little bit of money.
Yeah, my honorable mentions are more so regular fantasy, like PPR leagues and stuff like that.
Yeah. I also have Justin Herbert just because he's a little banged up. But they do play Houston. They do play Houston. But then again, he's not... Sorry, then again, he's not 100%. But, I mean...
in my mind, this would be a rest game for him.
But, yeah, I mean, he could potentially do pretty well, but you can... there's better options.
And we have the benefit of now recording this after Thursday Night Football. We just saw what happened with Tua.
You'll be entering the field
when they're injured. I think maybe the Chargers are smarter than that, and I think that they could...
Even if he plays, just hand the ball off or not make him throw like 50 yards down the field and all that.
Hostile dropping into the...
Bro.
Playtime's over.
I just hit
Stand by for deployment
the nastiest collab. I did not mean to interrupt, but that was pretty cool.
No, you're
yeah, anyway.
And my last bottom four guys, Carson Wentz, and I don't really think I gotta explain that.
No. Yeah, honorable mention for my bottom four is Carson Wentz also.
I think I told you the other day I had a lineup with Carson Wentz, and he didn't do bad, but like towards the end of the game, he like try to get too cute with it and threw an interception. I think he might have fumbled, but that didn't take that many points away from me. But
Yeah.
that was also kind of like a
Fallen allies will
random salary
redeploy as
saver,
long
I
as
guess.
you remain alive.
Yeah.
Earn
Yeah, that's all I
points
got.
to bring them back to the action
Yeah.
faster.
Yeah, I don't hate that. I think moving on to running backs, I think is where we get a little bit different. I think, well, not I think. I know that my top running back right now is Austin Eckler. I have him at number 1. Number 2, I have Derrick Henry, just because, you know, Derrick Henry's a dog. Good matchup against Houston, or not Houston, Indianapolis this week, pardon me. Then at number 3, I have James Robinson, with Saquon rounding out the list at number 4. For honorable mentions, I have Jamal Williams, Khalil Herbert, and Antonio Gibson for daily fantasy because he is 6,600 as of the time I wrote that down. So he could add some good value. I think that he's honestly pretty decent play. Other than that, for my bottom 4, I have Damian Harris, Zeke, and Javonte Williams along with Najee. Those 4 I would stay well away from this week. I don't think that they're going to produce. Zeke has not done well all season. And by done well, I mean compared to what he set as a precedent.
They got me in their sights.
Yeah, I agree. Sorry, go on.
No, go ahead. I was done.
So my top 4, we have the same, but I have them flipped. More so daily fantasy side because Derrick Henry is not only, I guess, but he's 8,600. And last season when he was going berserk on like every team, he was over 9,000, and I know he hasn't, he's got a good matchup, but his first 2 games he only had 8 points and then bounced back with a 22-point game, so I think it's matchup-wise, it only gets better.
Yeah, I agree.
Number 2, I have Eckler. Houston, they're not good. Don't really have to explain it too much. You kind of covered it, and plus with Herbert injured, you can probably see him getting a lot of usage. And the crazy thing is daily fantasy-wise, he hasn't produced a lot. So I think that this might be a game where he can go a little crazy. I'm hoping at least, but
I have good hopes for him. Very good hopes. I think
one of my
he's gonna be the best
favorite
running back this
plays,
week.
kind of. I'm not going to say like one of my favorite plays, but this can maybe throw people off, is Nick Chubb, and he's 9,200. Facing Atlanta, Jacoby Brissett isn't that bad, but he's hit double digits, and week 2 against the Jets, he had 3 rushing touchdowns and had a little bit of receiving yards, and he scored 30. He's kind of like priced at what he should be, I guess.
Yeah.
But I think he's worth the spend up. And I'll get to value plays in a minute, but that you can like kind of correspond with him, I guess.
Yeah.
You can say, because you're going to spend a pretty penny to get him. My number 4 kind of value. He's not really value, but he might not get a lot of ownership, which could help you, is Jamal Williams. I wouldn't even mind putting in Swift, but I actually just read he didn't practice on Thursday, so I mean it's probably safer to go with Williams. A couple other like value guys I'm kind of looking at. Tony Pollard at 6,000. Great matchup against Washington, and considering you know, Zeke isn't in my bottom 4, but I have a couple others. But you make a good point on that.
Watch the skies.
I didn't talk to you about this, but I think J.K. Dobbins might be a good one at 5,800, and considering the weather,
Preparation's
I know
done.
Lamar likes to run
Time
the
to
ball a
deploy
lot,
to
but
the
I mean,
war zone.
you
Yeah.
can't do it every play, but
I don't hate that. I don't advise it, but I don't hate it.
that's kind of sometimes in daily fantasy, you kind of want to find someone that's low owned, but if, like, just for instance, if Dobbins can get like mid double digits with maybe like 1 touchdown, like that's good enough. You know, he doesn't need to get like 30.
Resurgence.
You know what I
Scavenger
mean?
contract.
But
Yeah.
in a spot,
All right,
the
soldier.
only
Mark a
issue,
drop
I
point for your
guess,
sector. Rush to the safe zone. You've got
is
gas closing in
Buffalo's
fast.
defense, so that's kind of a risk, and he'll be very low
as long
owned.
as you remain alive.
But if he, in
Earn
like,
points
in
to bring them
FanDuel, it's
back to
half
the action
PPR,
faster.
so 2
Hostile dropping
carries
into
is
the
1
area.
point.
Watch
Yeah.
the skies.
But, I mean, if he can gain some yardage and
Enemy
then maybe
UAV
score a
active.
touchdown, you know, might be
Kill
worth
all
it. But,
targets.
bottom 4,
Supply box
Christian
marked.
McCaffrey, you
Secure
said
the
double
goods.
digits, but he's kind of underperforming
Objectives
as
found. Move to
one
the
of the
next
top,
location.
even just regular fantasy football plays, you know? Like, I think
Yeah,
everyone expected him to do a lot better.
Go ahead, continue. That's not highlight.
Javonte Williams, same thing. I have him in 2
Yeah.
out of my 3 fantasy leagues, and he's been nothing but a disappointment. I've lost a lot of same game parlays because I thought he would score a touchdown.
Enemy UAV
He had a
active.
lot of hype. I'm not saying he's bad, but I mean, if he had like 2 touchdowns, he wouldn't be. And obviously, it's only 3 weeks of football, but if he had like 1 or 2 touchdowns, he wouldn't be on my bottom 4 list.
Yeah.
But
Objectives
shit
found.
happens. It's
Move
fine.
to the next location.
I have Antonio Gibson on mine, but I don't think he's a bad value play. If you play him, he's 6,600.
Yeah.
I don't think he'd be a bad value play, but I mean, I want to read his. Hold on,
Need
I'm
recon
gonna try
here.
to find it real quick.
UAV
Dallas's
getting
defense is
flyover.
really good, so that's kind of the concern with him. But I mean,
Yeah, but
you know. And kind of the same thing. I think a lot of people are gonna look at the defense and be like, "Oh no, no Antonio Gibson." But if he scores a touchdown and gets the ball alive, and plus Carson Wentz is
All
shit,
supply boxes found.
he might get the ball a lot, or maybe he'll throw checkdowns to him, and he can still get some good yardage. I shouldn't have to say this last one, but James Conner. The Cardinals don't look like the Cardinals. I know he's a little banged up. I don't really know what's up with him, as in if he's going to be playing. But last year, he kind of had that year where no one really expected him to do that great. But yeah, no. And plus, he's still banged up, so we don't really know his status yet either.
yeah, no, I agree with your list.
Now, I mean, honestly, though, with McCaffrey, that's more of if you have him just for regular fantasy football purposes. I'm not going to say don't start him, but
I am.
like, you have him?
No, I'm just well. I have him in the best ball format, but I also have Nick Chubb.
Yeah, Nick Chubb, I really
So
like.
I'm okay with that.
But yeah, I mean, if you have him in regular fantasy, play him. But if you're doing it to like make money week by week, there's better options. You know, that's basically it.
Yeah, no, I'm with that. Gas is coming. But I'm gonna move on to the wide receivers. At number 1, I put down AJ Brown. At number 2,
Got a loadout drop
why Derek
inbound.
Carr is an honorable mention. I put down Devontae Adams because, and this is the game that I'm going to choose to touch on for the wide receivers. Because I think that this is
Get to the new safe zone. Gas is
that
closing on
the
enemy.
Raiders are going to mount somewhat of a comeback this game.
Mercenaries are trying to escape with their cash. up 'em.
Derek Carr and Adam seem to be a big part of that.
Enemy soldier nearby.
And I think that there will be. So, that's the reason why I have
Enemy
Devontae
UAV
Adams
active.
and Derek Carr so high.
Only 25 left. Keep moving forward.
Yeah, I like those. I'm kind of daily fantasy wise. I might throw like a stack of them in a lineup, but it's also kind of concerning that they're the only 0-3 team in the league right now. But
Yeah, that
might not be a bad idea to throw them in a lineup and see what happens.
Contact!
Jesus, I'm doing so bad right now. It's just not
Sustain
working
fire.
out. Don't worry about me. I got self.
So do I. Yeah, anyway, and then for 3 and 4, gotta move these guys around. CD Lamb and Amon Ra. Motherfucker.
Less than 25 remain.
CD Lamb and Amon Ra.
Latest
With honorable mentions for regular fantasy going out to Michael Pittman, Mike Williams, Devontae Smith, and Nico Collins. And then in the bottom 4, do not touch these, do not start these, do not go near these people. Christian Kirk, Hollywood Brown, Gabe Davis, and Rashad Bateman down there just because of the weather game. You kind of touched on it last night. Definitely, like if you're playing multiple lineups, pick at least Bateman up in 1 or 2 of your lineups. You never know what might happen. But for regular fantasy, I'd throw in Nico Collins or Richie James. Pick them up off the waiver wire, that is. Yeah, other than that, I don't really have anything else for wide receiver.
So I have Amon-Ra St. Brown as well, but I was gonna text you this earlier and I kind of forgot. I had a busy day, but he didn't practice again today with like that ankle injury, and I remember in the game he got like quote unquote taken out, but then he came back in later, so I guess it's not that bad. But I do think he's gonna play, and they're just kind of being careful with him. He didn't practice, you know what I mean? But I think it's more of like a precaution.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to point that out since we both have him. So like I have like a 1A, 1B. I have AJ Brown and Devontae Smith. I know Smith is a little banged up, but he had a great game week 2. You can't really go wrong with either one of them. And considering the Eagles are doing really good, they both. Yeah. I would say
Check
Brown
weapons and gear.
is the safest option, but if you want to get a little different, I mean, I think that Devontae Smith will be a little bit less owned daily fantasy wise if you play on like FanDuel, but I mean, if you want a safer bet, I'd go with him. Go with AJ Brown. I already talked about St. Brown. Kind of contradicting myself with this next one, considering I had this QB on my bottom 4, but I put Mike Williams, Keenan Allen limited in practice. I didn't see anything about today, but I knew he was limited in Wednesday's practice.
Yeah.
I know Herbert's still a little banged up, but I mean, he's gonna have to throw the ball to Williams if he plays and he's limited on a snap count. Williams is going to be one of the main targets, I think. He is a little expensive. Let me see what his tag is real quick. That's running backs.
Practice is over.
He's pretty
The
up
real fight
there.
begins now.
7,200. But I mean, that would be kind of, I don't know. I'm kind of contradicting myself on that. Like I said, I don't think he'd be a bad play. This is a crazy one. I was telling you about it yesterday.
Yeah.
The rookie from Green Bay, that Romeo Dobbs.
Romeo Dobbs. Yeah. I like him. I like that.
And it pains me because I'm a Bears fan. But then again, my Bears don't have any receivers besides like Mooney.
Resurgence.
Even though Fields like
Gas is
despises
closing on your
him
position.
for some
Suggest you
unknown
start
reason,
running.
just doesn't throw him the ball.
Found a bounty contract.
Yeah, we'll go to your pick actually. I like that
Survive.
better.
Redeploy fallen teammates.
Allen
And earn
Lazard
points to return them faster.
was limited in practice, but like the week before, like when he played the Bears, he had that same ankle injury and played, and they're just doing it as a precaution. So I'm almost positive he's in. You can play Lazard because he's technically, I guess you can say, wide receiver 1. But I think if you want to get a little different, and Dobbs had a touchdown last week. So I think, like, and there's a little bit of pressure since pretty much Aaron Rodgers hates
All of his
yeah, and Christian Watson, I think, was, like, limited in practice, and he didn't play last week against Tampa, something like that.
Yeah,
But
he's a little banged up right now.
But I mean, if you think of it like this,
Objective is to eliminate the
all
bounty
the
target.
receivers want to show Aaron Rodgers that they're good enough and, you know, want to impress him. They want to have a job.
Yeah.
So I think Dobbs will be kind of good. Yeah, and he'll definitely be low owned. But even so, if you want to do Lazard, I just think Dobbs is better value-wise. Bottom 4, DK Metcalf doesn't really need an explanation. Kind of the same thing with Terry McLaurin. I kind of thought, I was telling you about this yesterday, with Terry McLaurin, you know, Carson Wentz isn't that great, but I kind of figured change of scenery. McLaurin just got paid really well. You know, I kind of just thought, oh, maybe this will be his year. I mean, he did show out a little well last year, but I just kind of thought, you know, with Carson Wentz doing that this year for him, but guess not. Shit. And then,
They're talking to me.
kind of like what you were alluding to earlier, I have the Bills and Ravens receivers as like a bottom 4, but if you're playing multiple lineups in daily fantasy, I would just maybe like have them in like a couple lineups, don't make them a priority just because of the weather. But it wouldn't be a bad idea because if you think of weather concerns, some people will stay away from them, and if like Bateman has like a pretty good day, and he's not high owned, he'll have a good average. But that's only if you're playing multiple lineups. That's just me though.
No, I mean, that's me too. I mean, it makes sense, and it's seems foolproof. So I'm cool with that. I think you have tight ends. I didn't really do tight ends. I'm not a big tight end guy. I'm just gonna use your tight ends and piggyback off of you. So
Alright.
if you want to go ahead and give those.
So I got Dallas Goedert, good matchup. Somewhat bad weather, I guess, for Philly, but I mean, they're going to find a way to do whatever they can. The only reason why, too, I was saying I like Jalen Hurts as the rushing upside, and he can do a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
But having Dallas Goedert, even if you mix in A.J. Brown or Smith, Goddard's proven, I think we all know how he is.
Yeah.
Number 2, Freiermuth, good matchup against the Jets. I know Trubisky isn't the greatest, but I mean, if he can get him the ball against a weak Jets team, they'll be fine. Freiermuth would be, I think he'd be higher owned this week just because of the Jets, but I mean, you never know. I have Zach Ertz against Carolina. I mean, no more Modern Warfare 2 beta for Kyler, so I think this is a week. And plus, like, they had a good game where they made that insane comeback against Vegas.
Yeah.
But I mean, they haven't looked really good, and I also have Kyler Murray in 2 out of my 3 fantasy leagues. So I'm actually, like, really disappointed in how he's playing, but I think against Carolina, they can step up and
Under fire.
give it to Ertz more. And plus, like, Hopkins is out for the PED substance and Hollywood Brown.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think he's that bad, but I mean, I think like week 1, Hollywood had like 1 touchdown, but it was like a garbage time touchdown, and he hasn't really done much since. But having Ertz, and Ertz is only 5,500, so that can save you some salary.
Yeah.
You alluded to this guy yesterday, and it like totally slipped past my mind. But David Njoku, what's his price at? He's actually listed as questionable, need to not practice Thursday. Maybe something not to It was rest related. Should be practicing tomorrow.
Training's over.
Doesn't really give
Time
much
to see
after
what you've
that.
learned.
But weak Atlanta defense. This could be a game that he pops off. He's only 5,700. So I like that. A value play. Gerald Everett at 5,500, also with Zach Ertz. Good matchup against Houston. Justin Herbert is a little banged up. Might have to throw it to him because, you know, he's not going to throw it like 50 yards downfield to
Resurgence.
Mike Williams.
Set a drop point
More
for your
so
team,
just like
soldier.
a value guy. He'll be kind of low
Prepare for
owned.
landing
I
zone.
would kind of assume he'd be a little bit low owned because, you know, you got Goddard,
and your KIA
Njoku,
teammates will
Freiermuth.
redeploy. Any point-worthy action will return them to
I
combat
feel
quicker.
like he'll be the lowest owned.
Hostile dropping into
How
the
low
area.
owned?
Watch the skies.
I just think a lot of people,
Kill
if they
all
get to him, it's because of the matchup. But I mean,
Dude, I hit him. I'm so bad. Go ahead.
Allied UAV.
it's alright. We'll be back shortly. There you go, see? Told you. Oh, Jesus.
Do better
I
this
have a
time.
crappy gun, too. That's great. Hold on. I think I just stuck something. Get the hell out of here.
Enemy UAV
Bottom four,
active.
I have Mark
Enemy
Andrews
UAV
only
active.
really because of weather, but kind of like I said earlier, and he's 8,400 considering the game he had last week. Wow.
Yeah.
But he's the highest owned. He's basically priced as a wide receiver, and we know that he's basically a wide receiver one for that team. I'm in such a war right now, it's unreal.
The enemy won this battle.
The might be a bad idea to throw him in one or two. Well, it also depends on how many you have.
Yeah.
I'm kind of back and forth on this, but Kyle Pitts, he's been a big disappointment. He's only 6,100, but last game, Mariota threw him the ball more. So he had 11 total fantasy points, which, you know, that's like average, and that's not that bad.
Yeah.
But I'm staying away from him because there's better and cheaper plays. Darren Waller, I'm kind of iffy about. He's 6,500. He's the second most expensive guy, but they're playing Denver, and Denver's defense is actually not that bad. But this was a guy last year that just went crazy. Like, I don't want to say out of nowhere, but he was doing really good last year with Vegas.
Yeah.
Kind of like what I was saying earlier with like your Adams, Carr, Waller stick. Waller could, you know, potentially do really well, but I'm kind of just staying away from him. I may throw him in a lineup just for fun and see what happens. Then my last guy won't play is Evan Ingram. Terrible matchup. Really hasn't done much.
Yeah, that reminds
If he was,
me.
if they were, if Evan Ingram was playing like, I'm trying to think of another crappy team. If they were playing like the Jets, that could be a really good value option. But facing Philly, we all know how Philly is. So that's bottom four.
Yeah, bad news for me is my only other backup option was Mike Gesicki, but he got me 3.5.
Check weapons and gear. You got time before deployment.
They've used him more as a blocking tight end, but I think like last year and the year before, he had like some pretty good games. So I don't know why all of a sudden they're like, hey, let's just make you a blocking tight end.
Yeah, I don't either. I'm just as confused.
You don't have anything for defense, I assume, right?
No, not at all.
So let's.
Enemy dropping into the
In
AO.
daily fantasy, it really doesn't matter because the highest, let me look real quick. The highest, like the most expensive is the Packers against New England. I didn't have them in my top four. I didn't really do a bottom four either. But top four, I did Chargers, Bills, Eagles, and Cowboys just because of those matchups. They'll probably be high owned.
Yeah.
But I mean, that doesn't really matter that's just how the daily fantasy goes. So, and you won't really have to worry because of salary and stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can pick and choose whichever team. You know, the defenses have great matchups. Can't really go wrong with those four, but those are the top four. I don't really have it ordered because the only way that it makes a difference is like their opponent. So, like the Cowboys play
Resurgence.
Commanders. Okay.
All right,
The only way
soldier.
that
Mark a drop point
the
for your team.
Cowboys can
The gas is
score
approaching your
more
position.
points than
landing
just
zone.
like, you know, 5 or 6 or whatever
Leave
is if they
and your
hold the
KIA
team, hold the
teammates will
Commanders to
redeploy. Any point-worthy action will return them to combat
under
quicker.
10 points, and then if they get like a pick
Hostile
6
dropping
or a
into the
kick
area.
return touchdown.
Targets are up.
Those are the
Take 'em
only,
out.
and you know, that doesn't really, I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but
Yeah.
you know,
Not
you kind of just gotta be
extremely,
Keep your senses sharp. An enemy
So,
team is tracking your location.
those are the 4 though that I would choose from, and you're not breaking the bank obviously on a defense or special teams. So
yeah, I would.
yeah, that's that's all I got from that.
Well, yeah. Seems like that should just about wrap things up for the start 'em, sit 'em, take 'em in your DFS, don't take 'em portion of this segment. So, with that, my partner and I will be saying catch you later.